Have you ever wondered why the men who try the hardest in love are almost always the ones who get the most hurt? And how other men seem to attract respect and desire, almost without even trying? It's a painful paradox. We're taught to prove our worth, to chase, to convince her that we are the one. But what if that very act of proving is the exact reason she can't see your value? What if victory isn't found in the chase, but in a deep magnetic stillness? Part 1. The Chaser's Illusion. From the time we're boys, we're programmed to run. Run for grades, run for achievements, and eventually, run for love. I remember my father. He was a good man, but he spent his entire life proving himself to his boss, to his friends, to us. He was always running, always convincing. I watched him get the promotions, but he looked empty. He had won, but he'd lost his center. This taught me a brutal lesson. The world doesn't respect you for how fast you run. The world respects you for how deeply you are rooted. When you chase a woman on an energetic level, you are sending her, and the universe, a signal that you are not enough on your own. You are telling her, you are the source of my validation. Psychologically, this puts her in the role of the judge, the prize, the mother. And attraction cannot survive in a mother-son dynamic. It dies. The man who chases is living an illusion. He thinks he's chasing her, but he's really just running from his own emptiness. Here's the first reflective question. Where else in your life are you chasing? At work? With friends? Where are you performing for approval instead of simply being? Part 2. The Inner Anchor Principle. This brings us to a fundamental law of energy I call the Inner Anchor Principle. Imagine your emotions are a ship on the ocean. For most of us, our anchor is thrown into other people. When she's happy, we feel stable. When she pulls away, our chain goes tight, and we get dragged into her storm. We panic. We text. We explain. We chase. We try to pull her ship closer, but we're really just pulling ourselves off center. The spiritual journey of a man is the process of pulling that anchor out of the external world and dropping it deep inside yourself, into your purpose, into your values, into your own breath. This doesn't mean you become an island. It means you become a harbor. You are anchored in being, not in having. When your anchor is internal, your energy changes. It's no longer needy. I need you to be okay so I can be okay. It becomes solid. I am okay, and you are welcome to join me in this space. This is the shift from the validation seeking of a boy to the presence of a man. She can feel this. It is the single most magnetic force on earth. She can't explain it, but she feels safe around you because you are not tossed around by her waves. The second reflective question. Ask yourself this and be honest. Right now, in this moment, where is your anchor? Is it in your phone, waiting for her text? Is it in her approval? Or is it inside you? Part 3. The Lighthouse and the Storm. So what does this look like in practice? This is what I call the lighthouse and the storm. A woman's emotional world is often like the ocean. It's beautiful, powerful, deep, and sometimes chaotic. It has storms. It has high tides and low tides. This is not a flaw. It is its nature. The mistake of the externally anchored man, the chaser, is that when he sees her emotional storm, he panics. He jumps into the water. He tries to calm the waves. He yells at the ocean, "Why are you like this?" He tries to fix her feelings, and then he drowns in her emotions. In that moment, she loses all respect for him because he couldn't hold his own ground. The path of the master. The man with the inner anchor becomes the lighthouse. He is built on rock, his foundation, his purpose. He doesn't fear the storm. He doesn't try to stop the waves. He simply holds his light. He observes the storm with presence, with warmth, but he is unmoved. His light doesn't flicker. His energy says, "I see your storm. I am not afraid of it. And I am still right here." This is true polarity. Her emotional energy doesn't hit a weak wall. It hits a solid, warm, unmoving presence. Her storm finds its anchor in him. Her chaos finds its peace in him. She doesn't just feel attracted. She feels seen. She feels safe to be herself, because his stillness allows her to feel, without the fear of destroying him. But this isn't easy. It requires a new skill. It requires moving from reaction to observation. This is the hardest and most important shift a man can ever make, and it begins with one single powerful tool. Part 4, The Alchemist's Pause, that powerful tool, is simply a pause. I call it the alchemist's pause. In ancient alchemy, the goal was to turn lead, a base, toxic metal, into gold, the metal of enlightenment. In a man's modern psychology, the lead is our impulsive reaction, the anger, the anxiety, the clinging, and the gold is the conscious response. For years, I lived on lead. When a relationship got hard, when she said something that triggered me, I reacted instantly. I would defend, I would argue, I would send a long text explaining why I was right and she was wrong. I was throwing toxic lead into an already fragile situation, and it always shattered, because reaction is slavery. It means something outside of you, a word, an action, a silence, is controlling you. Between stimulus, she pulls away, and response, you chase, there is a space. For most people, that space is a millisecond long. But for the master, for the alchemist, that space is everything. The alchemist's pause is the conscious act of widening that space. When you feel that panic rise up, she's ignoring me. Instead of immediately grabbing your phone, you stop. You take one deep breath, and you observe. You observe the lead. You feel the heat of it. You feel the compulsion to do something, and you choose to do nothing. You aren't ignoring the feeling. You are holding it. You are allowing it to exist without acting on it. This is the difference between a boy who is dominated by his emotions and a man who leads his emotions. In that moment of pause, the magic happens. The lead begins to cool. The panic turns into curiosity. The defensiveness turns into understanding. You realize, oh, I'm feeling abandoned. That's interesting. You've detached from the emotion. You are not the anger. You are the awareness observing the anger. This is where the gold is made. From that space, instead of a desperate text, you might choose to send a calm one. Or more powerfully, you choose to send nothing at all, not as a game, but because your peace is more important than fixing this moment. The third reflective question. Think about the last time you reacted. What did it feel like in your body? Hot, tight, fast, right? The next time you feel it, can you promise yourself just one deep breath before you act? Can you give yourself 5 seconds of that space? You will be stunned at how those 5 seconds can change your entire reality. Part 5. The Resonance of Stillness. But this pause is not a negative void. It's not the silent treatment. The silent treatment is a weapon. It's cold, it's aggressive, and it radiates need. What we are building is the resonance of stillness. Imagine you're standing before a great canyon. If you scream into it, I need you. The canyon screams back, I need you. You get your own desperation back, but if you stand there and you just breathe, you become silent. What do you hear? You hear the wind, the birds. You hear the life of the canyon itself. You aren't imposing your will on it. You are listening to its essence. In relationships, our words are often screams. We try to fill every gap. We fear silence, because in silence we are forced to face ourselves. But when you practice the inner anchor and the alchemist's pause, your silence changes. It's no longer empty. It becomes full. It's full of presence. It's full of purpose. This is the Taoist philosophy of Wu Wei, effortless action. Like water, water doesn't try to be strong. It simply is, and it wears away rock. Your stillness becomes that power. When she pulls away instead of throwing rocks, words, arguments at her, you become the water. You keep flowing. You continue with your purpose, with your life, with your peace. She will feel this instantly. Modern psychology calls this a state difference. When you are in a state of calm, centered peace, and she is in a state of chaos or testing, your peace, by default, becomes the reference point. It confuses her. She expected your desperation. Instead, she gets your stillness. This silence doesn't say, I don't care. It says, I care about you, but I care about my peace first. And I will not sacrifice it. That is the most powerful boundary you can ever set. And it's done without a single word. The fourth reflective question. Are you afraid of silence? When a conversation dies, do you rush to fill it? What if you practiced this just once this week? Just be silent and listen. Not waiting for your turn to talk, but truly listening. To the silence between the words. Part 6. The Law of Resonance and Ultimate Purpose. And this brings us to the heart of it. A principle it took me a decade to learn. The Law of Resonance. The law is simple. You do not attract what you want. You attract what you are. You cannot stand in the canyon, whisper I am weak, and expect the echo of strength to return. You cannot broadcast a frequency of neediness and expect the universe to reply with abundance. The chaser is breaking this law every single day. He is screaming to the universe, I am not whole without her. And the universe, obeying the law, replies, correct, you are not whole. And it brings him more situations to feel not whole. This is why finding your purpose is not a cliché. It is a spiritual requirement. Your purpose, whether it's building a business, being a great father, creating art, or simply mastering your own mind, is your frequency generator. It's what tunes the sound you broadcast to the world. When a man is consumed by his purpose, he stops broadcasting neediness. He starts broadcasting life. He becomes magnetic, not because he's trying to be, but because he is plugged into his own power source. I have a friend, a talented musician. He was obsessed with a girl. He wrote songs about her, called her, analyzed every text, and she never respected him. Finally, defeated, he gave up. He locked himself in his studio for 6 months. He stopped calling. He stopped checking her socials. He just created. He poured all that pain, that yearning, that energy into his guitar. 6 months later, he emerged. He was no longer a desperate boy. He was an artist. He had a new album. He had a new light in his eyes, and guess what? She started calling. She felt the shift in his frequency, but here's the magic. When she called, he realized he didn't need the call anymore. He had found his validation in the music, not in her. He had found the law of resonance. The fifth reflective question. If you took all the energy you are currently spending thinking about her, analyzing her, worrying about her, and you invested 100% of that energy into one project that would improve your life, what would that project be? And can you start it today? Part 7. The Ultimate Game. From slavery to freedom, this is the final truth. This journey was never about getting her back. That was always a trap. The universe doesn't care if you get the girl. The universe cares if you become the man. She is just the messenger. Her departure, her silence, it's the test. It's the call to awaken. The chaser is lost in the maze, trying to guess what she's thinking, where she is. The master realizes the only way out of the maze is to go inward. The Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. The moment of true freedom is not when she texts you. It's the moment you look at your phone, see no new message, and you smile, because you realize your happiness is no longer tied to that device. You realize you are going to be okay, no matter what. You have found your inner anchor. You've stopped playing her game and started playing your own. The ultimate game is not love. The ultimate game is freedom. Freedom from approval. Freedom from fear. Freedom from the voice in your head that says you are not enough. When you reach that state of freedom, a paradox happens. You don't just attract her. You attract everything, because you are no longer trying to attract. You've simply become a lighthouse, and the ships, naturally, find their way to your light. Who are you when you are no longer trying to impress? Who are you when you are no longer running from your own loneliness? When you can sit in an empty room and feel completely whole, that is when you have won. Practical exercise. the Feel Your Anchor drill. Tonight, before you go to sleep, or right now if you can. Do this. Sit down. Close your eyes. Turn everything off. For 60 seconds, just notice your breath. Now, think about the situation or person causing you anxiety. Feel that pull, that neediness. Feel it in your chest or your stomach. Now, imagine a chain from that feeling pulling you out of your center. With every exhale, imagine you are pulling that chain, inch by inch, back inside yourself. Visualize a massive, heavy, golden anchor right in the center of your chest. Drop it, feel its weight. Feel its stability. Say this in your mind. I am the harbor. I am the anchor. I am okay. Do this for 3 minutes. You are not trying to get rid of the feeling. You are anchoring yourself in spite of the feeling. This is the work. This is the path. Life is not about finding someone who can make you happy. Life is about building someone, yourself, who can bring peace and happiness into every room you enter. Start that work today. And if this journey resonates with you, join us. Help spread this message by subscribing and share this video with one other man you believe needs to hear this. And let me know in the comments. Which lesson today hit you the deepest? Let's begin the work. I'll see you in the next one.